Good afternoon. My name is Rick O'Connor. I'm the Florida Sea Grant Extension Agent here at the Escambia County Extension Office. I work primarily in marine-related issues, and one of the issues that we have along our coastal areas are snakes. Of course, we have issues with them all across the county, and the big fear of them, the big issue with them actually is the fear of these animals. When everyone sees these things, of course, they're afraid that A, it's a huge animal, it's going to bite, it's going to be painful, and of course it's probably carrying venom, and there's a risk of life or a loss of life on that. We have about 46 different kinds of snakes across the state of Florida. Believe it or not, 91% of those are non-venomous. So how would you know if you saw a snake in a garden like this, if you're working in your garden or in your yard, whether you're dealing with a venomous snake or not? There's some tail things that a lot of folks know. One, you always heard about the diamond-shaped head. Most of our non-venomous snakes do have a head that is shaped like a thumb. This is Todd. He is a Florida king snake. He is non-venomous, and you'll notice again that thumb-shaped head. And so from a distance you should be able to tell that. Another one is the pupil. The eye is usually round on the non-venomous snakes, and it's elliptical on the venomous ones. Now, of the venomous ones, we have 6 species. 5 of those are vipers, and they have that elliptical eyelid in the triangle or delta-shaped head I just talked about. But the coral snake, that is not the case. The coral snake is in a different family. It's the red, yellow, black one that everybody's heard of. They love to be in gardens like this. They'll live underneath the bark and underneath the leaf litter. They move around primarily at night, hunting bugs, insects, and other snakes. But they'll have a head and an eye shaped very similar to Todd here. So how do you know if it's venomous or not? Because there are some mimics. The thing everybody knows, red touches yellow will kill a fellow. So if you see the color red and yellow, think of a traffic light. If the two touch each other, stop. That you're dealing with the venomous one. Here locally in the Florida Panhandle, the mimics, this will not work on the other side of the Mississippi River, but right here it'll work. The venomous coral snake has a black head, and our mimics, the non-venomous mimics, have a red head. So if you see this thing in your garden, you just can look at the head right away and know whether you're dealing with a venomous snake or not. So those are the venomous and the non-venomous ones. We have about 5 vipers and 1 of the elapid snakes, the coral snake. The difference between those, again, besides just the head shape, is the type of venom they have. So people want to know, all right, if I'm dealing with a snake, and even if it's non-venomous, I don't want to deal with it, what do I do about it? Well, to be honest with you, the first thing the snake is going to think when it sees you is fear. It believes you're the predator. And so it goes through a series of behaviors I call the 3 Fs: freeze, flight, fight. So the first thing the snake is going to do is it's going to freeze. It's going to try to blend in with the environment. It's going to hope you do not see it. When you see a snake, it's generally going to be doing that. The next behavior is it's going to fly, and it will only run if you approach it. So if you start walking towards the snake, and sometimes you do that because you don't know that it's there, it's going to take off and run. And that includes the venomous snakes, okay? Now I will say our cottonmouths and our rattlesnakes, they're big, deep, heavy-bodied snakes, so they tend not to fly. They tend to actually hold their ground, and they'll warn you. They'll rattle their tail, and that includes the cottonmouth. It will rattle its tail. It'll open up its mouth where you can see that cottonmouth. Of course, the rattlesnake will warn that because they don't run very well. So they're going to warn you you're getting too close, and of course the obvious thing to do is step back. If you keep pushing what I call the magic line, if you enter their bubble or into their space, they will go to that 3rd F, which is fight. They are going to they're going to turn and defend themselves. They're going to do that. And so, what people want to know is how do I avoid keeping them out of the garden and things like that? Well, habitat like this, they love. They love coverage. They have lots of predators, red-tailed hawks, possums. There's a lot of things that eat even the venomous snakes. Todd is actually a good deterrent. Todd is a Florida king snake, and we call him the king snake because he actually eats venomous snakes. So if this snake is living on your property, you will not have the venomous ones. But obviously, if you've got a snake the size of Todd, a lot of people are very, very, very uncomfortable with this. So they say, all right, well, what's another option? That one's not a real good one. Again, you got the cover here. You can work, a lot of times when I'm out working with snakes, I'll use this. Instead of sticking your hand in something you think might be snake territory, you'll just stick the potato rake down there. If it's struck, it strikes this, not you. And you can make sure that it's clear. If you've got to move the snake, a potato rake is actually a good way to do that. But again, giving it space and letting it move on. If you're bitten, unfortunately, if you're bitten, the first thing to think about, and I'll set this down right now for a second, the first thing to think about is remaining calm. That's a lot easier said than done, is to keep your calm. But you do want to remain calm. You want to call 911. Almost every case of fatalities of snake bites, the victim did not go to the hospital for whatever reason. They didn't seek medical attention. Sometimes the bite doesn't feel bad. People have heard of what's called a dry bite. A venomous snake will bite and not inject venom. My professor taught me in school that venom is extremely expensive, so it's meant to kill rats, not you. So sometimes they will not inject the venom. And maybe that's why they think they got a dry bite so they don't go to the hospital, but we highly recommend that you go to the hospital no matter what, because sometimes you did get venom and you're not sure of that. The next thing you want to do is you want to remove any wallets, bracelets, things like this, rings, because there's going to be some swelling. It's going to be painful and it's going to start to swell. You want to keep that bite below your heart if possible. Remain calm. Call 911, your local hospital, say I've been bitten by a venomous snake and I'm on my way. And that's really it. A lot of the hunters will swear by the snake bite kits. A lot of the doctors say they see more damage from that than they actually do the snake bite. When you open up the kit, there will be a blade for you to make a cut or an incision. Some have tourniquets that you'll put on and then a suction cup, but the venom is already moved from this place. And the people are so nervous and scared, they actually do a lot of cutting, and the doctor has to deal with this before he can even work on the snake bite. So they recommend actually just remain calm and come on to the hospital. You do not need the snake. A lot of folks say, hey, I got to bring the snake so I get the right antivenom. It's the same antivenom unless it's the coral snake. So they do not need the snake. Please do not bring a snake to the ER. That's not a good idea. And last, I want to show this one. This one was brought in by a local resident today. But this is actually a banded water snake. And a lot of people think these are cottonmouths or water moccasins, and it looks just like it. But the difference in these, you'll see the thumb-shaped head, as I was talking about. It has the round pupil, but a lot of people are like, I don't want to get that close to be able to identify this thing. But from a distance, especially if the snake is larger, the jaws right there have vertical stripes that run up and down. And you can see this at a distance. You don't have to get very close to the snake. The cottonmouth will have a cream-colored jaw, no stripes, and a lot of them are wearing what looks like a Zorro mask. And of course they'll have that delta-shaped head and everything, but the color and the pattern is very similar to this. So this one was actually a non-venomous snake. He killed this particular one, but this one was no threat at all.